What is up, my friends? Welcome to Flippin' Bats, where it is John Smoltz Day here on the show, where every single week the Hall of Famer from the Atlanta Braves joins us to talk about things around the game of baseball. This week, we got a great show with him. We also have a lot to talk about as well. I'm going to talk about the Shohei Ohtani situation in Hawaii with the Realty Group. I have talked to some sources in the know there to get a better understanding of exactly what is and what has happened in that situation in Hawaii. So we're going to talk all about that. And then with Smoltz, we're going to talk about Ichiro getting inducted into the Hall of Fame and asking John Smoltz if he has any good Ichiro stories, which leads to a conversation which I had no clue, leads to a conversation of how an outing against Ichiro led to him realizing he doesn't want to be a closer anymore. Honestly, it's crazy. I can't wait for you to hear it. We're also going to talk about the two teams in New York, the Yankees and the Mets. Which team makes the playoffs? Do zero? Does one team? Does both? We're going to talk about each team in New York. We're going to talk about Pete Alonso passing Darryl Strawberry in home runs. We're going to talk about Little League Classic is coming up and asking John if he could go back and tell his Little League self one thing, what would it be? So we got a fun show here today. Remember, Flippin' Bats is presented by FanDuel. Bet baseball with us all season long on America's #1 sports book. All right. If you haven't heard, if you've been living under a rock, Shohei Ohtani and his agent Nez Balello have been sued over a $240 million real estate project in Hawaii. Now, I've done some research. I've talked to some sources that I very much so trust and have gotten a better understanding of the situation and wanted to relay that to you all so we can all kind of understand what is happening over in Hawaii. But again, I very much so trust the people that I've talked to in this situation that say this is clearly a case of an employee that had status with Kings Barn Realty, the group involved here. Clearly a case of an employee with status being fired for just cause because he wasn't doing a great job. And he's decided to sue everybody and then makes up allegations that Shohei and Nez had something to do with it. But so then there's this quote from Kings Barn Realty themselves. Kings Barn, who the employees worked for. Kevin Hayes and Tomoko Matsumoto were the two employees, and they are suing Shohei and his agent Nez because they say the firing was a direct result of Nez's demand. Yet, here's the quote from Kings Barn Realty. This quote is public. The quote from Kings Barn themselves. The allegations against Shohei Ohtani and Nez Balello are completely frivolous and without merit. Kings Barn takes full responsibility for its actions regarding Kevin Hayes and for removing Tomoko Matsumoto as the project's broker. The Mauna Kea project is world-class, and we look forward to welcoming our final group of landowners. So essentially, what we have is the company, the Realty, the Kings Barn Realty Group, coming forward and saying, this is all ridiculous. They were fired for just cause. And that completely all makes sense to me. So I wanted to update everyone on what I've heard, that this was a case of disgruntled employees, basically, one with status at Kings Barn, getting fired and now suing everybody and making up allegations that Shohei and Nez had something to do with it. And then the company themselves that removed them from the project saying the allegations against Shohei and Nez are completely frivolous here and without merit. What more do you need? What more do you need when it comes to this situation? So a lot to talk about today, though. I want to get to John Smoltz here, who has a lot of good stuff to say. Again, John Smoltz joins us here every single week on the show. If you're new, if you don't always listen, if this is your first time listening, Hall of Famer John Smoltz joins us every week to talk through things. No matter where he is, no matter what he's doing, he takes the time to join us every single week. And we have a really, really fun conversation here today, including a story about Ichiro that essentially led to John Smoltz stopping being a closer in Major League Baseball and wanting to go back to a starter. Really good stuff. So without further ado, let's welcome him in now. John Smoltz. All right, and I am pumped to be joined now, as we are every single week, by the Hall of Famer, John Smoltz. John, how are we doing this week?
Doing great. Just here in Atlanta, getting ready to tee it up after we're done and keep improving on my game.
I love that. I love that. Speaking of the Hall of Fame, the Hall of Fame weekend just came and passed a couple weekends ago in Cooperstown. Ichiro was inducted into the Hall of Fame along with some others, but Ichiro, just an absolute legend. And I've heard many stories about the guy throughout the course of my life and my fandom, and how he's hysterical and you name it. I've heard an Ichiro story. So I have to ask you, John, do you have a good Ichiro Suzuki story?
Unfortunately, we didn't play against each other at one time during that time frame of interleague, and I never realized to the degree of how funny he is. Very unassuming, you would think,
Yeah.
um, just from his style, the way that he went about the game. But I've heard people say he could hit a home run anytime he wanted in batting practice. You could put him up against anybody. I've heard people say, as far as his ability to only impact a game in various ways with his legs, but what I saw and what I was able to hear, because we're not in the best spots for the acoustics, I couldn't believe how funny he was. So, and he did it in English, which is pretty incredible when you talk about where he came from and what he means to the game and what he represents in the historic fashion of making the Hall of Fame and paving the way for so many more of his journeymen, to come over and make an impact in Major League Baseball.
You didn't face him much with interleague play, as you said, but did you ever face Ichiro in the box?
I did. I had to come into a game as a closer, bases loaded, nobody out, in the eighth inning, 3-0 lead. And I had to face him, Brett Boone, and Edgar Martinez. To say the least, I was not happy about the situation, but I was able to get through it, give up one run, get the save, 2 inning save. But ironically, that's when I made a decision in my mind. Nobody knew this. I made a decision in my mind. I will not continue as a closer anymore. I had gone through 3 years of our our general manager left the cupboard bare. He did not sign anybody else. I was doing everybody else's job. My elbow was going to fall off. And I just decided that if the opportunity presents itself, and luckily it did, I was going to go back to starting. And mainly because I'm the kind of guy that wants to win championships. I know that doesn't fit every narrative of athletes in general. There's a perception is all about give me what I want. I truly want to win championships. And when I look back, we didn't win one series as me as a closer. And when I
Wow.
was a starter, we never not got through a series. So to
Wow.
me, that was an easy answer for me. But I say that only because when you bring up Ichiro, when I faced him with the bases loaded, nobody out, I said, "This is it. I am not doing this." In my mind, I checked out. I'm like, I'm finishing the year, and when the year's over, I'm going back to starting.
So
And
that's
luck,
crazy. So that was the end of closing for you when you had to come in, bases juiced, and get Ichiro, Boone, and Edgar Martinez out. You're like, I'm done. This is it.
well, and what happened before that, little caveat was I had pitched in five in a row, and then I had a day off. And then that next day, I really needed that day off. And it was the ninth inning in Oakland. That was the last game of the series before we go to Seattle. Roberto Hernandez got hurt with two outs in the ninth, up by four, and they called me in with a runner on. And I was just flat cold. I was not even thinking about getting ready. So I come in to finish that game, which was, you shake your head a little bit and luckily got through it. But the very next day,
Yeah.
that's when I went, okay, all right, we got to do something different.
John, if by the way, before we move on from Ichiro, if you happen to know the name of the one person that didn't vote for him, let us all know.
Oh, isn't that? You see, that's what I ended up hearing later was the punchline. I didn't know what he was referring to because we missed something. It was something about taking somebody out to dinner and that had expired, and now I get it because, yeah, there's always somebody, right? Somebody's
Always.
going to try and do that.
As a Tuesday night, John, the NL West is tied at the top. The Padres have caught the Dodgers. They were a good bit behind a couple months ago, and now there's a tie atop the NL West. In your opinion, Who wins the National League West?
I'll tell you what, we wouldn't even have this conversation 3 weeks ago about who was going to win it. But
Yeah.
then the trades and everything that went down for San Diego. I mean, LA knows what they need to do, and they know that they can flex their muscles if they stay healthy, and they know they've had the edge historically over the Padres. But I'm telling you right now, if you believe in momentum and if you believe in a team that has made all the right moves, San Diego didn't just do this to get into the playoffs. They did this to win the division. They realize what that will do for them by winning the division versus getting into the playoffs and hosting one series, and maybe that's it. So, look, there's a big series coming up. I don't know how many games they have left. I know they have at least six, could have nine left. And who's going to win it? I can't believe we're saying this. It's anybody's call now. It never was going
Ooh.
to be that. It was never going to be that based on the roster of the Dodgers. But when you get swept by the Brewers and you lose 5 games to the Los Angeles Angels so far, I guess. I think it's the Angels have won 5 games. Is that right? Against the Dodgers?
Yes.
You're basically putting yourself in that category of now you have more what if. And I look, if I was pressed, I'm still gonna lean towards the Dodgers
Yeah.
because of what they have and what they've been through. They're not phased by anything. But don't let a team start getting a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
And don't let a team start thinking they're back in it. And that's exactly what's happened. That
Yeah.
is exactly what's happened.
We have to be fair though, John, when we talk about the Brewers, because nobody beats the Brewers. They might not lose again the rest of the year.
They've been beyond what anybody can believe and dream of. I watched the game
Seriously.
against Skeens. They have the peskiest lineup. They have the right model going forward to just create chaos. But it's going to be, golly, it's going to be one of those historic years when you think about 2 10 game plus winning streaks, 8 game plus winning streaks. I mean, when they get on a roll, they get on a roll. You just hope for a team like that when they get to the end and obviously have that break, to see how
Yeah.
that young team kind of handles that. But that's not something they're concerned about right now. That's not anything they're going to even talk about because if you just sit out of spring training, you're going to get a 7 day, 6 day break when the season ends and you're going to play again. They go, sign me up.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm all for that.
John, how many teams in the state of New York get into the playoffs? Both the Yankees and the Mets are in the third and final wild card spot. How many teams get in? Zero, one, or two?
I still think two. I
Okay.
really do. I think the Mets are way too good. I don't understand the last stretch they went on. Doesn't make sense. I just think they're too good, and I think they're going to be in a position to be in the playoffs. Is what I honestly think.
What were your did you see Pete Alonso pass Darryl Strawberry all-time franchise leader in home runs? What were your thoughts when you saw that Pete Alonso now leads the New York Mets franchise in home runs?
You know what I thought? I thought good for him. Last year, when he had the historic hit, and then everyone talked about he was going to go play somewhere else. Good for him that he signed back. He's having the year he's having. There's got to be a refreshed confidence and renewal of energy that he has, knowing he has done it with one franchise. I'm a fan of his emotion, the way he plays. I'm a fan of the way that he goes about his business. He just oozes with care, and I think he got rewarded. And in a city like that, it's either we love you or you're a bum. And it's good that they have the admiration for Pete Alonso.
Yeah, and then you're like, yeah, that's 253. My franchise leader has 755. That's insane.
Yeah, it is insane.
John, last one for you. We have the Little League Classic is coming up, and my question for you, I'll be there in Williamsport. And a question I want to ask you is if you go back and talk to Little League John Smoltz and could say one thing to Little League John Smoltz, what would you say to him?
I wish I had one extra inning back because that's what prevented me from moving on to the regionals and possibly the Little League World Series. I had to pitch the one inning in relief that put the limits on your innings. We were winning 1-0, and when I left after six, we lost. We gave up 2 runs in the seventh. I had to come in with the game previous and get the one inning done, and then I started the next game and pitched six, so I'd reached my limit, and I would have loved to an opportunity to kind of go farther But no, what I would have said is I did everything in that era with joy and fun, and there was no stress, and there wasn't the attention that exists today. And you know, I just absolutely loved playing Little League baseball when I did. I think it's a little bit much right now, but you know what? It's still fun to watch. We all know what comes with it, though.
Yeah. And if you have to face Tony Gwynn one day, just walk him.
Just walk them.
John, I appreciate it, my friend, as always. Let's do it again next week. All right, just wanted to thank John again for joining us. How cool. I had no idea the reasoning why John went from being a closer back to a starter, or what specifically made that happen. And turns out it's facing Ichiro with the bases juiced and nobody out. Obviously, there's a bit of a story behind it, but it's ultimately that outing that led to him wanting to go back to being a starting pitcher. So really cool to hear that story. I tend to agree with him about the New York sports teams. I do ultimately think both teams get into the playoffs, both the Yankees and the Mets, but it has not been pretty for those teams lately. The Mets finally figured it out Tuesday. Yankees win a couple games in a row against the Twins, but the Twins are essentially a 4A team right now after trading their entire roster away. And here I was thinking I'd ask John about a Little League question and what he would go back and tell himself, and he chose something from Little League that he should throw the one inning. Absolutely incredible. Always love talking to John. Seriously, as many of you know, I grew up a massive Atlanta Braves fan. I grew up a massive fan of John Smoltz. And to have him on the show now every single week, and to have had on the show Chipper Jones, Tom Glavine, just some Braves legends, and to get John on every week means the world to me. And I hope you all enjoy it as well. So please make sure wherever you're listening to your podcast, Apple, Spotify, hit that follow, subscribe button. But check us out on our YouTube channel, Flippin' Bats Pod. Every single thing we do comes out on video. Leave a comment, like the video, make sure you're subscribed there, because that all really helps. And I love hopping in the comments and talking back to you guys and letting me know what you think of the episode and what I think of your question and all that good stuff. But the show doesn't end when this ends. The conversation continues on YouTube in the comments. So please check it out there. Watch the video. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you guys. And check us out on all social media at Flippin' Bats Pod everywhere. But thanks again to John Smoltz for joining us, as he does every week. No matter where he is, no matter what he's doing, it always means a ton. And I hope you all enjoy it as well. I am off to Williamsport, Pennsylvania. You'll see me there on socials, and then I'll be back to talk about it next week. But I feel the last couple things I've traveled for have been in the middle of nowhere. Bristol, Tennessee, not easy to get to. Williamsport, Pennsylvania, not easy to get to. I live in Los Angeles, and I'm still not able to easily get to these places. So we'll see. Travel has not been good lately. But I'm about to head out to Williamsport for the Little League Classic, and I'll have a ton of stuff on socials and then a ton of stuff when I get back as well. So thank you all, as always. And until next time, my friends, find your bat and flip it.